How quickly did that weekend go? Was it just me, or did that weekend just fly by? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Studio Live today and GarageBand Weekly for another week. Yes, I've got a nice hot coffee because it is no, it's not. It's Monday morning here in sunny Adelaide, South Australia. It may be Sunday afternoon if you are in the US or Canada, Sunday evening in Europe or the UK, and some other time in everywhere else. In fact, why don't you tell me where you are listening and watching from on this wonderful day? And yeah, let me know how things are track-a-lacking for you. We are jumping in just a few moments. This is the show before the show, the pre-show where we get things set up, ready to rock and roll, and ready to talk about the news, views, and other we talk about GarageBand, and we've got a bunch of stuff to get to today, which we will dive into in a moment. But first, coffee. Ah, delicious coffee. Um, Someone was saying to me the other day, they're like, "I've become addicted to coffee during this crisis." And I said, "Well, of all the things that you could form an addiction to, coffee's probably one of the least damaging ones." So yes, I know caffeine's not great, and someone will jump on me and tell me the 101 reasons why caffeine is a terrible drug, but it's not heroin. Like, got to look on the bright side of things, don't you? Alrighty, we're not here to talk about drugs or coffee, although coffee would be a great topic for a podcast. But we are here to talk about Garage Band. So let's say good day firstly to the folks who are here live, and then we'll get set up and jump into some Garage Band goodness. So hello to Jade, who is here. We've got Metallion 58, Alex Bacchus. Yes, my first live show for the weekend. Probably because it's the only live show that's been at a time that's not the middle of the night for you, Alex, I would imagine. So, yes, I do need to do more of these morning shows, which we will be doing during the week. More on that later. Benedict Stewart is here. Hello to you. We've got Surfing Cat. SM Borthwick is here. Thank you for being here. We've got Mr. Clayhead from the UK. Surfing Cat also here from the UK. We've got our Canadian representatives here of Sion and Metallion. Hello to you, Doug from Chicago. We've got Pat Hinners is here today. We've got feeling really tired today, Mr. Clayhead. Yeah, well, it's Monday morning at 6:30 a.m., so I'm pretty tired too. Hence why I'm rocking the coffee pretty hard here. We have Perry Low music from Bastrop, Texas. Not Barstop. Barstop would be a place where you stop, where they have a bar. No one can go to bars at the moment, so that wouldn't be too much fun. Tom Rochelle from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Jeff Brush is here. Hello to you. Desolate Morning is here. We have all the gang together. Old faces, new faces, and in between faces. I don't know. It's weird. I've got two children, and I call them the little lady and the medium lady. And I said to my wife, "Does that make you the big lady?" And she slapped me. I didn't really say that, but that would have been a little bit amusing. See, I should have been a stand-up comedian, except a stand-up comedian in the '70s, where that humor was even close to funny. Let's cue up my theme music song here because I'm clearly getting way off track. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Please just talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Hold the line while I actually get my S together here. I'm trying to find a video that I needed to reference in this one, and there it is. I won't play that because there it is. I needed to find my shortcut to shortcuts, which is studiolive.today.com/shortcuts. So go figure. It was just that easy. But what I do need is my song Imagination, which is the one that I use for the intro music here. Imagination. I know this is how lame I am. I'm so disorganized. I just bring up my own video on YouTube and play it through that every week. That's how I roll. So let's do that. Oh, it's not playing back. Go through there. There we go. That's better. All right. We are good to go with our theme music. We are good to go with everything that we have set up here. We have Patrick here from the GarageBand Guide. Evening, afternoon, morning, all. Hello to you, my friend. We've got Bubba is here. Harry Sam is here. Johnny Vans is here as well. Yes. And yeah, you're right. I don't want to invite her slapping at 6:30 a.m. Good news is she's not up yet, so that's so I'm okay. I'm safe. Joe B, hello to you. And hi from Sweden. Hello, Cassie. Yeah, a lot of more of my UK and European friends get to tune into GarageBand Weekly because it's at a slightly sensible hour. It's not the middle of the night. So that is a good thing, yeah. Rightio, that's enough chatter. That's enough pre-show. We've got folks here. You've grabbed yourself a beverage. I hope. I'm gonna have one more sip of coffee. Then we're gonna have a quick pause, and we're gonna hit the button and get on in for this week's episode of Garage Band a Weekly. I probably should have just sculled that coffee because it's gonna be so cold in 25 minutes time. Anyway, let's do this thing. Yes, welcome back to GarageBand Weekly, our weekly show here on Studio Live today, all about GarageBand. My name is Pete, and this is Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. And I do that through sentences that have a stop halfway through tips and tricks and videos and live shows just like this one. Today on the show, we got some big news. Apple stores reopening here in Australia. We've got an update to GarageBand's big brother or big sister, Logic. We'll talk about that a little bit. And in my rant of the week, we're going to throw down between Mac and iOS and come to the final realization that it doesn't really matter. All right, spoiler alert, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, let's jump into the show with our news and notes from the last week as they relate to GarageBand. So, heading off the news is something that I experienced just after last week's show. So, I finished last week's show, and as I just mentioned in the pre-show here, I do these Monday morning live on the channel. So, it's 6:30 a.m. Monday. So, after last week's show, I went for a walk, and I walked into the city here in Adelaide, and I'm walking down Rundle Mall, and it's pretty quiet because a lot of things are closed, restaurants, cafes, and things still closed. And I'm walking along, I'm like, oh, why is there a line at the front of the Apple store? That's really odd. The Apple stores are closed at the moment. And as I get closer, I see that there's a whole bunch of Apple employees with the t-shirts and with the devices in their hand, all wearing masks. And I'm like, oh, okay, they must have reopened the Apple store. And as I get there, yeah, so there's a big line up. There's one of those big sort of airport-style queues out the front. Everyone's there registering, so they're writing all their details on iPads, and then the store is open, but it's the weirdest thing, because I don't know about you, but I've never seen an empty Apple store. It's like they open the doors, and just everyone floods in, and they're always really full. I've never been in there going, wow, there's not many people in this Apple store today. It's always full. So this was like an empty Apple store. There was only, I think, 20 people maximum they're allowed in there at one time, and the rest are lining up. So yeah, so there you go. It's a good sign and it's a good step in the right direction. Most of our other retail stores didn't close here in Australia and haven't put in these sort of strict everyone wearing mask kind of things. But yeah, I guess Apple being a big global company wanted probably have one practice for everywhere in the world. So they said, yep, well, guess what? You're having these same practices. So it's can't necessarily be a bad thing, but we shall see, because I'm in the market for a new iPad. So I may be venturing back there. So if I do go and if I do buy at the Apple store, which I may not, like there's a place called Officeworks here that sell iPads. I can go to any of our electronics stores and buy iPads. And because the price is the same everywhere, I may not have to actually venture there. But there you go. It's a good step in the right direction. I'm sure it means that Apple will be keen to open their retail stores in other locations in the coming weeks and months as things continue to improve in the current world environment. The next big item here, and full disclosure here, not only am I not a Logic user, I'm not a GarageBand Mac user. So I had to reach out to the friendly folks over on the GarageBand users Facebook group. So we've got a group of the moderators and administrators over there. And I asked, hey, I heard something about a new version of Logic. Can you give me the download? And of course, Patrick, who's here from the GarageBand Guide, James, Jude, Ron, all of the other great people over there on the group. They were, and Brian, they all came to the party and were able to share some of the new things. So what do we have in Logic 10 and 10 and a half, I was going to say, 10.5? Well, it's just been released. It's got live loops. So they've updated the live loops interface to look, funnily enough, a little bit like the live loops we have in iOS. They've also added some FX options, which are a little bit like the FX options we have in iOS. And they've also beefed up the iOS remote support for Logic. So you can use your iPhone or iPad to actually control a lot of the different effects. So if you think remember the effects that you have in GarageBand iOS, which you'd probably be aware of. You've got the two little pads and you've got the thing, so you can do DJ type effects, scratches and stops and filters and things like that. They've added that into Logic Pro as well. So there are some good new things in there if you're a GarageBand user and you're considering upgrading to Logic, especially if you're an electronic music producer. And to me, this does sort of a lot of the updates to not only iOS that we've seen recently have been packs around electronic music production, not surprisingly, but it looks like Logic is really pushing in that direction as well. And again, it's not surprising. As I've ranted about on other shows, people are creating beats more than they're creating songs these days. So electronic music production is definitely something that's pretty big around the world. And yeah, why not? Apple would jump on that, and they've definitely jumped on that with all of the stuff they've added into GarageBand on your iPhone or iPad, with Alchemy Synth, with Live Loops grids, with FX, and with all the different sound packs. And it looks like similar things are happening. One of the more interesting things that I noted and that the folks over there on GarageBand users told me is that it also comes with a complete track of one of Billie Eilish's songs in Logic. So all of the tracks and all the plugins that are used, and I think it was Brian, or no, it might have been Jude. One of them was saying, yeah, one of the most interesting things was actually going through and listening and seeing what was used, and it was all stock plugins, and it was just all recorded. They didn't notice any sort of auto tunes or any tuning on any of the vocals or anything, which is not surprising because Billie Eilish is a very talented vocalist. But yeah, the good news is if you're using a Mac and you've never used Logic before, and this is 100% not sponsored because I don't even use a Mac or GarageBand, but there is a 90-day free trial, apparently, coming from a good source, coming from Patrick. So Patrick wouldn't lie to us, and if he does, go over to the GarageBand guide and give him what for. But no, I did find on a separate source as well that yes, there is a 90-day free trial for Logic if you want to see what the fuss is about and if it's worth your hard-earned several $100, pounds or euros to upgrade and update. Third bit of news, and this is kind of small, but it's big in my world because I'm in iOS 13. They finally added USB flash drive support. However, there's one big problem for us Windows users, and that is that NTFS file support is not currently supported. Now, I've heard two things during the week. One is that it will be supported in the future, and the other is that it's already in there, and it actually got snuck in version 13.4.1. Now, I haven't tested it yet, but I will be testing it here on the channel. And if it's true, I'll definitely be making a video about that. That would just make life a lot easier because if you're like me and you've used Windows computers forever, Windows told you to use NTFS because it was better and faster and blah, 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 blah. And so I did. So all of my backup storage with all of my old projects and all of my old audio files and loops and samples, guess what? Yeah, they're all in NTFS format. So if I want to copy any of them to my iPad or iPhone, I need to hook them up to my Windows PC, copy them over to a different drive that's FAT formatted, and then plug that in. Mac users, you got no problem. All the HFS and HFS Plus and all those other things are all supported on iOS without any changes or upgrades or anything required. So I'm looking forward to testing that one out. I know it's a small thing, but if you're a nerdy, geeky type like me, then it is something that you're going to be probably excited about. Alrighty, before we jump into my rant of the week, let's jump in here and chat to the folks who we have here live. So we do have confirmation here from Patrick at the GarageBand Guide. Free trial of Final Cut Pro to get on it. Absolutely. If you are creating music and audio, you're probably creating video too. And free is better than not free all the time. Yeah. There you go. We'll see. So Jade Star said she found an old copy of Logic 5.5 on PC on an old external hard drive. It was the latest version on PC, installed it, and it still works. Oh, very, very cool. Gotta love it when you go back to all of that. Tom Rochelle says, I just bought Logic only to have them roll out this awesome looking update that's not compatible with my MacBook. Oh, talk about an oof moment. Oh man, that is not fun. Sion's asking if anyone has Logic as well, potentially. Yes, Sion says, thanks for the tip on the Canva app. It's made things a bit easier for me to edit templates. I used to use it on a PC. Yeah, Canva is a very cool way to actually go when it comes to editing comes to editing image files. So if you're not on Canva, if you haven't tried canva.com, get on it. They're an Australian company too. They are doing good things. So yeah, go to canva.com, free service you can use. You can create thumbnails, you can create images, you can create titles and album artwork, all that sort of stuff. If you're like me and you're design challenged and you're Photoshop challenged and you don't like things that are hard, you just want to go that, drag them all together, canva.com. But this is a GarageBand show, not a design and image editing show. So we'll have a quick coffee and then we'll have a rant because you need sustenance for ranting. So let's talk about one of the questions I get a lot. I know I start a lot of sentences with one of the questions I get asked a lot, but I genuinely do. So people say, what is the difference between Mac and iPad for GarageBand recording, and why would I choose one over the other? And my slightly sort of joking but not really answer is usually, do you have a Mac or an iPad or iPhone? Oh, you've got an iPad? Well, then use the iPad version. Oh, you've got a MacBook? Well, install GarageBand on your MacBook. It really is as simple as that because the differences are not significant. The similarities are. So both of them are free. Both of them let you record at least 32 tracks of high quality audio. Both of them let you plug in audio interfaces and microphones and guitars and record sounds in the case of iOS up to 44.1 and 24-bit. Pretty sure GarageBand on Mac can go higher if you set your sampling rate higher, but most people record at 44.1, 24-bit anyway. Both of them have a bunch of stock plugins. Both of them have the ability to add third-party plugins by downloading additional apps and installing them. There's really only a few small differences. So if you are someone who really wants to weigh up the differences, and clearly I need to do a video on this, but I thought I'd just do a quick rant here and a quick sneak peek. But the main difference is, so GarageBand on a Mac, you have a couple of things like the arrangement track and the master track. So that just makes it easier to actually arrange your song and also to add things like master effects to your track and do things on that. Automation on GarageBand Mac is a lot more powerful. So you can't, on iOS, you can only automate volume. And yes, there's ways to create a second track and do some funky tricks that I've showed in other videos that you can automate effects and automate panning, but it's not that intuitive. In GarageBand on a Mac, you can automate your panning and other things, and it works very well. And the other thing on the flip side, so they're probably the two main things that I'd talk about GarageBand Mac. On the flip side, iOS, you have touch instruments. So that is really handy. Like if you only have a keyboard, all you've got is your typing keyboard on Mac. And yes, you can use the typing keyboard to type in your sounds, which is kind of cool. But if you've got an iPhone or iPad, you can use the touchscreen for virtual instruments, obviously. And you've got Alchemy Synth. So if you're a electronic music creator, the Alchemy Synth and the FX and the live loops and the other things that you have here can be really good. Using that touch interface can actually be quite intuitive, especially if you're starting out creating music. So I genuinely think that from the small amount of GarageBand Mac I've tried, if you are brand new to music and you know nothing about music, that GarageBand on your iPhone or iPad can actually be easier because you can grab loops, you can grab samples, you can grab autoplay on your virtual instruments, and you can actually tap them in just using your touchscreen. Feel free to disagree on all of those things. And what I want to hear from you here in the chat and also in the comments if you're watching on the replay is, what is your experience? Because I'm someone who has very limited GarageBand Mac experience, but extensive GarageBand iOS experience. So I've tried to be even keeled here because there's definitely some things like a master track and like automation that I miss when I'm using GarageBand on iOS. There's probably other things and advantages to Mac. So throw those here and I will cheat and steal. No, I will borrow them when I do my video. I'll make sure that all views are represented on both sides because, again, what's the best option here? It is both. So if you can use both, then you're in the best case scenario. And the only thing that I do wish is that you can send a GarageBand iOS project to Mac. You can't send a GarageBand Mac project back to iOS. So that would be the ultimate. If you could just start creating on your Mac and then shoot it over to your iPhone, go for a walk and mix your song and do your changes and do what you need to, come back and go boom and send it back to your Mac, that would be super cool. Let's just say that when Logic comes to the iPad, that will probably be the case. It is no coincidence in my view, and yes, we're going to get a little bit speculation corner here. It's no coincidence that the new version of Logic has some big similarities to GarageBand iOS at the moment. So a lot of the updates, they're bringing in the sound packs, the Skyline Heat, all the new sort of sound packs that we've got in iOS, haven't gone to GarageBand Mac, they've jumped straight into Logic. things like the FX grid, things like the fact, like a lot of the stuff you can use with that Logic Remote app on your iPad. So is it going to be a big stretch for them to just shimmy the audio engine over to your iPad? They've already got a lot of the interface stuff. I don't know. I think that's going to be coming soon. I'm convinced. But yeah, let me know. What do you think? Let me know if you would like to chime in on that one. Sion's jumping in here with a secret Billie Eilish project that works on iOS and Logic. Ooh, secret. There you go. I like that. Make sure you circle back and put that in the comments too, Sion, so people not watching live can grab that one afterwards and check it out. Sounds like it could be a lot of fun. Cool. We've got some comments here. GarageBand iOS has more accessibility bugs and problems than the Mac version when it comes to using with VoiceOver. That is a good thing to know. And I know that there's we've got Solrak here, we've got Darren, we've got a bunch of folks who are visually impaired and do use iOS and GarageBand iOS. And yes, some of them have reported that things like editing and doing MIDI and things like that can be quite challenging on GarageBand on iOS. SM Borthwick, I tried GarageBand on my wife's Mac. I struggled with it, kept on poking the screen and feeling like an idiot. It is pretty funny, and I'm not comparing your wife to you to my children, but yeah, my children are the same. They are so accustomed to touch screens that when they're using anything that doesn't have a touch screen, so I found an old digital camera that I'd had in the past, and I gave it to my daughter, and she's looking at the photos on there, and she's swiping the screen to try and scroll through the photos, and I'm like, oh, you've got to press this button, and she's like, why? I'm like, well, it's a good question. We don't anymore. We just do our thing. Everything's touchscreen now. So, yes. Audio units tend to be much. So this is a GarageBand guide. Patrick over at GarageBand Guide. Audio units tend to be much more expensive on Mac than iOS. Yep, Nembrini and Clevgram, for example, charge 2 to 3 times more for identical plugins and effects on Mac versus iOS. Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to stay the same. So basically the reason for that is that so Mac and PC users pay a lot more. So same for PC. So the VST and the AU, so the desktop versions of plugins are, like you say, usually 2 to 3 times, sometimes more in cost than iOS. And traditionally it's been because buying a piece of software for $99 for your Mac or your PC isn't a big deal. A $99 piece of software for your iPhone or iPad is a big deal because we've got the 99-cent rule. Like we all became accustomed when the App Store launched that you buy an app, it's 99 cents or $1.99. Or, if you want to splurge, you get a $4.99. $9.99, a $10 app for your phone, for your iPad. That's crazy talk. So the plugin manufacturers couldn't put out their $40 and $50 plugins on iOS because no one would buy them because we are all cheapskates. No, but we buy so many different apps and you don't think of it that the commoditized value of an app on your phone is not the same as having a piece of software. So there is that. But yeah, another very good point there from you. Thank you very much to Bubba, says my weekly stipend. I can earmark half of it for WavePad if you like. Excellent. Thank you so much, Bubba. Thank you for the support on the channel here and for the super chat here. Really appreciate you. And yeah, I do need to pick up WavePad. So that will probably literally go directly to me purchasing WavePad, which is an audio editor for iPhone and iPad that I've been meaning to pick up and check out for a while. Asa BT says, yeah, audio units are not accessible on iOS. Yeah, exactly. So you need AUV3. You need to download audio unit plugins, AUV3 plugins, to use them on your iPhone or your iPad. But yeah, the standard AU audio units for Mac, you cannot use. Thank you for everyone's feedback on that. Always great to get other people's opinions because that's the beautiful part about this show and the whole Studio Live Today community is that it's not just this guy, it's not just my opinion. I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the stuff. I'm not an expert in everything, but collectively we can bring together a whole bunch of different views and opinions and it works out beautifully. So thank you for being a part of it. And if you're watching on the replay, join us live. We are here Sunday afternoon if you're in the US, Sunday evening in the UK and Europe, and Monday morning if you're here in Australia and want to get up early and have a coffee with me here. Let's continue on. My tip of the week this week. So again, I'm going to start the sentence like I do every other. A question I get asked a lot is, how do I convert my audio in iPhone and iPad? So what's a good way to convert an audio file? And the main reasons you'd want to convert an audio file are to go from one format to another. So WAV to MP3, for instance, if you want to use an MP3 for some reason. if you've got a stereo file that you want to go to mono, it's actually quite a common thing, and I'll explain why in a minute. Or one that's happening a lot more often. So I've had a couple of viewers in the last week who have been having issues with 32-bit and 96 kilohertz samples. So they want to bring these samples and loops and things into their iPhone or iPad, and they can't do it because they don't have it available. So this is what we can do. So there's a couple of apps that I recommend. The first one, you're probably going to guess in advance, is Audio Share. So Audio Share actually has a great converter built in. So for instance, if I have, and this was actually one of the files that I was trying here. So this top file here is a 32-bit 96 kilohertz WAV file. So when I went to use this and use it in GarageBand, I had no hope. But all I needed to do here is in Audio Share, you can load up the file like that. So I'm just trying to get it so you can see it. And up in the corner here, we've got a tools option. We tap on tools and we tap on convert, which I know you can't see there, but look at these options. You get the ability there to convert it. We've got the WAV file at the top there, so we can convert it to any of these different sort of file types, AIF, CAF, we can have M4A files. We can do stereo or mono, which is very handy for a reason I'll tell you in a moment. So we can change it to a mono file. We can change the mix. Again, super handy. Left, right, or mixed together. Where do we want the audio to go? And the bit depth is super important. So if this was a 32-bit file, we can mix it down to 24-bit, and the sampling rate as well. Also super important. If this was at 192 or 96, we can bring it on down to 44, so it's compatible with GarageBand. So everything in GarageBand needs to be maximum of 44.1 kilohertz, 24-bit, up to 2-channel audio. And Audio Share is just the app that I found that works the quickest, easiest, and best. Now, it is a $3.99 US app. It's $5.99 here in Australia. It is well worth spending. Seriously, like I was saying before, this app would be $30 if it was a Mac or a PC app, but it's $4. So seriously, if you got $4 kicking around, buy Audio Share. Do it now. You won't regret it. It's also got other cool features in there. It's got a Wi-Fi drive, it's got file sharing, and it's got a high-quality audio recorder built in. So if you're recording long-form audio like podcasts or live shows or anything like that, the audio recorder here in Audio Share, you can see it there. It is simple, but it's effective. You've got plugins. You can adjust the input gain. And it's so reliable. You can hit record, turn off your phone, and it will just sit in the background and record for hours. Concerts. No, I definitely wouldn't record any concerts with this without the express written consent of the artist that I'm seeing. No, okay, I do record things, but just for personal use. I would never actually distribute. So it's not costing them anything, but if I'm experiencing something really cool, I like to just sort of listen to it again afterwards. Is that just me? Anyway, I know, breaking the law. Not really. All right, if you want a free option, the option that I'm going to give you here is, if you don't have the $4 to spend, which I do highly recommend you do, then Voice Record Pro, this one here, Voice Record 7, Voice Record Pro. There is a video here on the channel. If you search Pete Johns Convert to MP3 app, it's white, so it's going to look like that. I have to put it on the side. That's what it looks like. I've showed how to use it before. It's a little bit different to Audio Share. You just need to send your file into this one. You've got all the same conversion options. You can do it stereo to mono. You can change the sampling rate. And the reason I mentioned stereo to mono is that if you, like me, like to record things on your iPhone or iPad using something like this, like a Steinberg UR12, UR22, Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, any 2-channel interface, what happens is when you record the left channel, it goes to the left channel. And if you record the right channel, it goes to the right channel. So if you've got a mic and a guitar and you want to mix them down to a stereo mix, what it's going to sound like is your microphone is going to be on the left channel and your guitar is going to be on the right. That sounds crappy. Like, that doesn't sound good. That's not what music should be like. So if you use Audio Share or Voice Record Pro, what you can do is, say you record a video. So it's okay in GarageBand because you can do your panning right. But let's say you've got your phone, you record a video of you playing live, guitar and vocal, and then at the end, what you can do is remove the audio. So you can throw the video file into Audio Share. You can say convert just the audio to a WAV file, mono, 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, and then mute the original audio and bring that new audio back in, and then you'll have nice mono audio, which means that both ears will have guitar and microphone. It works a treat, and it's super handy anytime you're doing that. The same if you're doing a podcast and you're on 2 channels. Have you ever listened to audio and they haven't worked it out? They've got a 2-channel interface, but one person speaking the left and one's the right. I don't know about you, but when I'm listening to audio and I'm walking around, I only got one ear in. And that's a pain in the butt 'cause I'm only hearing one of the presenters on the podcast. So mix your stuff down to mono. Do yourself and your listeners a favor. They will thank you for it. There you go. That is my tip of the week, is converting your audio, especially stereo to mono, especially if you're downloading different loops and samples that won't work in GarageBand. Make sure they're 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, and they will work a treat. Hope that helps a few of you out. Coming towards the end here, and we are already a bit over time, so let's get a move on, shall we? Plug-in of the week. This is going to be a quick one, but this is my secret sauce. I'm recording an EP at the moment, by the way. If you want to follow along, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing some more live shows around this time every weekday. So for the next 4 days, I'll be jumping in here live and doing an hour to 2 hours of recording, of mixing, of all the stuff live here on the channel. So make sure that you join me for those ones. I know that'll be good for the European and UK folks because it won't be too late at night. I'll try and keep them a little bit earlier, but it'll still probably be midnight. Sorry. But yes, my plugin of the week is something I've been using with vocals a lot. I use it with guitars a lot. I use it with everything, and it's the Overdrive plugin. There it is there on a vocal track. Overdrive is highly underrated. And the reason that you would use Overdrive on a vocal, you might think that's really weird. Why would I want Overdrive on a vocal? The Overdrive just adds that little bit of grit to your vocal. If you ever recorded, and especially if you upgrade your audio gear, funnily enough, when you record like with the built-in mic, or you record with some headphones, or you record with something a little bit sort of cheap and nasty, you can actually get a kind of cool sound. Have you ever noticed that? You record your demo and you're getting this slightly sort of analog crunch to your vocal, and it sounds good. You then grab your high quality condenser microphone, you plug it through your audio interface, and it sounds so clean that it sounds out of place. Like you got this guitar, you got your drums, your bass, boom, 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 and then you're like, la, la. It's just this clean audio on your vocal. Well, you want to add that grit back in, a little bit of overdrive can really do the trick. Only like maybe 1 to 2 dB there, and find, the good thing about the overdrive here is you can find the frequency that you want that drive to come in at. So grab your overdrive, add a little bit in there. You'll be absolutely stunned at what that can do to your vocal. And you can use it on other things. Of course, you can use it on organ sounds and piano sounds and guitar sounds, but just a little bit of crunchy distortion on your vocal, just a little hinge, can be the difference between it sounding too clean and artificial and actually sounding like a performance that's sitting with the rest of them. You ever heard that thing where your vocal's sitting on top of the mix? Yeah, Drive can really help bring them together. That, along with reverb and delay, are the 3 plugins I use on virtually every mix. Overdrive, reverb, delay, they're going to glue your mix together, make it sound like it's got a little bit of analog warmth, make it all sound good. Alrighty. Overdrive, yes, Overdrive for the win. We are going to have to continue on here and finish up in just a moment. Evan says, yeah, Overdrive works really well for getting 808 punchy bass sound. Really gives it the extra kick. Yeah, honestly, once you start using Overdrive, you are going to start using it on pretty much everything. So you'll start just adding drive to all sorts of instruments and realizing what you were missing before. That sometimes a bit of distortion, a bit of crunch is good. It can really make your songs cut through. Let's finish off now with our final section, which is our resource of the week. Now, I've been using my keyboard. I happen to use a USB keyboard and mouse with my iPhones and iPads. So I use this one, the Logitech MK345, my favorite little USB keyboard combo. It's not red, it's blue, so it doesn't go as fast, but it's still all right. So that's what I use for using with iOS. You can, of course, use Bluetooth mouse or Bluetooth keyboard, and it works just as well. But there's a bunch of cool keyboard shortcuts that you can use for GarageBand on your iPhone and iPad. And of course, there's keyboard shortcuts on the Mac as well. In fact, I probably need to update my page to have Mac on there, or at least a link to the Mac ones. But if you head on over to studiolivetoday.com/shortcuts, then you can actually check out. In fact, let's check it out quickly here now so I can show you what is there, and you can check this one out, because learning the keyboard shortcuts for GarageBand can be a real time saver and can really help out. So here we are at Studio Live. Oh, we're not there. I'm not actually sharing my screen yet, but I am now. Here we are at studiolivetoday.com/shortcuts. And here we are, the GarageBand keyboard shortcuts. So they were added way back in version 2.3.7. They're very, very cool. There is a video there where I demonstrate how to use them. There's cool things like you can hold down the command key and it pops up a view of all the different ones. So I show that in the video there. And because I'm me and I'm a nerd, I've created this, which is a printable PDF document. And I know who prints stuff anymore? Well, you can have it sitting on your PC or your Mac or wherever. You can have it there and you can actually reference this. And you can see it needs an update because it's from November 2018. I probably need to go in there and fix it. And the other cool thing I did here that helps me and may help you is if, like me, you're using a Windows-style keyboard, a USB keyboard, it has actually converted these for you. So I've converted the different things here. So wherever it says Command, you can just use Windows. And what was the other one? I think it's Command. There's another one that's the Option key is the Alt key. So they're the only things you need to do. But it's amazing how hard it is to remember to actually change those up. But there you go. There's another free resource for your garage banding needs. StudioLiveToday.com/shortcuts will get you to there. And of course, you can go to StudioLiveToday.com for all of your GarageBand and mobile and home recording needs. Join the mailing list. Check out the gear guide if you're interested in any of the gear that I use. That's at StudioLiveToday.com/gear, where you can check all of that out. Thanks for being here, folks. I hope you got some value out of this show. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. That just tells me I should keep getting up at 6 o'clock every Monday morning and joining you here live. And happy GarageBand creating this week. Stay well, stay safe, keep creating. And this is where I do my after show. So I know a lot of folks will jump off there. I do mean to say at the start, hang around, I'll be here for a few minutes at the end. I am already over time, so I literally do only have a few minutes, but I do want to make sure I say g'day to everyone here so that I haven't already said. So PW, yes, g'day from the UK. Glad to see you're surviving. Yes, indeed. And drinking cold coffee. Need a freshie. Tim Osborne says, yeah, thanks for the PDF keyboard shortcut. Yeah, it's a handy one. I'll check it and make sure it's all updated and we get there. I did say, oh, here we go. Alex. So thank you to you. Oh, it's not letting me put the sticker up there. There we go. Alex Backer, super sticker. Thank you very much. Appreciate your support. Anyone who supports the channel here, I really appreciate it. Watching these shows helps me out. Listening to my music helps me out. Buying gear from my gear guide helps me out. And of course, making donations here on the YouTube live streams or via my PayPal link all help me out. And they all help me buy the plugins and buy the apps and do the reviews and have the gear and do all the things that can help me keep creating daily content that's going to hopefully help you folks out. Righty dokie, I think I'm going to have to move on. Sorry, there's a question here from Pat. Why does the track recording screen change when I start recording? Yes. It changes to, you're probably referring to this, that when you hit record on a track, it goes over there to that microphone view. Yeah. So the only way around that is to actually get a 2-channel interface and then plug in both channels. And then when you're recording 2 channels, it'll actually show you the 2 channels recording at once. If you tune in this week, I'll actually show that a bunch of times because I use that tactic when I'm recording, and I'll be doing that when I'm recording my EP, which I'll be doing through the week as well. I am going to have to run because we are way, way over time. Thank you very much for being here, folks. I will catch you on the channel with the live shows during the week. Got a bunch of other pre-recorded stuff that will be coming out through the week as well. And as always, head over to StudioLiveToday.com to catch up on all the fun. Thank you again, folks. I'll catch you next time. Cheers.